Hello, I'm Justice Jennifer Brunner of the Ohio Supreme Court and also candidate for Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court. And I am pleased to be sponsoring Achieving Justice, which is a public information program of my campaign. And today I have with me Judge Richard A. Bell, who is a judge of the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court General Division, and he was first elected in 2020 to an unexpired term, and he is now running for re-election in 2022 for a full 6-year term. Welcome, Judge Bell.
Thank you, Justice Brunner. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. So I want people to know about you, and you have such an interesting background. In fact, I probably spent longer talking to you about your background than we may even cover today. But tell us first about what kind of a family you came from. I think it's so interesting.
Well, a very large family. I have 9 brothers and sisters, so there's 10 of us, and I'm number 8 of 10. So known to my brothers and sisters as Richie. And I grew up with 6 older sisters, and I have 2 siblings that are younger than me.
That's great. And your parents are still living, correct?
They are. They're 93, and they live up here in Northern Ohio in a city called Hudson, Ohio.
Fantastic. That's amazing. So you have a very strong background as a prosecutor and really as an administrator. Can you give us a sense of your general professional background?
Sure. I was an assistant prosecuting attorney for 30 years. And I joined the office in 1990. I've had 5 bosses. I was an assistant prosecuting attorney for John T. Corrigan, Stephanie Tubbs Jones, as well as Bill Mason and Tim McGinty and Michael O'Malley. And I rose through the ranks, and eventually I was a chief over what's called the investigations division, which is a division that I created, and we had several hundred people working for me at one point in time, working on all those specialized cases, murders, rapes, DNA, cold cases, internet crimes against children, and human trafficking cases. Any type of case where we thought it would benefit the citizens of Ohio if we were embedded with the police and developing those cases from the beginning, even before indictment, all the way through.
Oh, how interesting. So after 30 years in the prosecutor's office, how is it being a judge?
It is wonderful. I have to tell you, I loved my job before, and I am still in the courthouse. I still get to see everyone, but I really enjoy being able to administer the number of cases that come before the court. And they can be minor theft cases all the way up through aggravated murders. And the day is full always, and there's a lot of good that can be done for people, not just victims, but certainly the defendants that come to you as a judge in the hopes that you can help them through the process to become better people. And I find it fascinating. I find it really fascinating, and it's a very different role. But it's a role that I really enjoy.
That's great. That's great. So I know when you ran in 2020, you made some promises to folks about things you would do if you were elected. Tell us about some of those and what you've been able to do to further those goals.
Well, the first promise that I made was that I would, in fact, maintain data. I would keep data on all of my sentencings, on all of my probation violations. So I would be able to not only monitor myself, but I could share that information with other judges or with the public, so people could see that I, as a judge and a former prosecutor, would be fair and I'd be equitable, and I enjoy keeping that data. It's a lot of extra work. It's an Excel spreadsheet that I myself keep, and whether it's a Friday night or a Saturday, you'll find me typing up on this very computer all of the different cases and what it was that I did with them. And what I like about that is I can go back and I can look to see what I did on previous cases And there's a learning curve there for a new judge, and it's been very helpful to me. I have also joined the Ohio Supreme Court Sentencing Commission Sentencing Data Committee, and this is a committee where we're testing, and I'm one of 2 pilot judges in Cuyahoga County, and we're testing the entering into the system our sentences and giving feedback to the computer people and to the people that are creating that database on whether it's working or what else might be able to be done to improve the system. And that is very interesting to me, because every judge across Ohio at some point in time will be able to use that information and to be able to have uniform sentencing data. And that's very important, I think, to the confidence in the administration of the judiciary.
That's thank you for doing that. Very much appreciated. I think we have about 61 judges sort of piloting or testing our uniform sentencing entry. And it's so valuable, because I don't like to use the word guinea pig, but you did sort of offer yourself so that you could, but the feedback and the knowledgeable information that you can provide to the folks who are conceptualizing it, but also implementing it from the technical standpoint is so valuable. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. I've enjoyed it very much, and I hope in the future that everybody will embrace it, and it's something that we can all utilize to, again, to make sure that all of our sentences are fair.
Yeah, and I'll bet too that when you have to do that entry 2 times for every person that you put on probation, you start to get to know who your probationers are a lot better, don't you?
I do. I think one of the best skills at becoming a judge is not necessarily all the litigation that I've done, tried over 100 cases, not all the training in the administration of young lawyers, but it was actually raising 4 children. So when you have somebody that you're responsible for, including the people that you place on probation, I think you're responsible for their success. And you have to think in terms of, what can I do to help this person so they don't commit crimes in the future? So you do get to know them very well, especially if you're keeping track of the sentencings and also all of their violations, if they have violated along the way. And you get to know your people pretty well. And you take a lot of, I don't know if pride is the right word, but you take a lot of enjoyment of when they are finally successful and they've completed their probation and they re-enter back into society.
Yes. And I think some people would think, well, if you only have 10 or 11 people, how is that making a difference? But unless you're working in the system, you realize that many defendants will tell you, well, they got me for this one, but there's 10 more they didn't get me for, especially if it's theft or if it's drug-related cases. And so if you pull 10 people ahead and get them out of that cycle of recidivism, that's probably 100 crimes that won't be committed, theoretically speaking. Talk to us about the reentry program that you've been working on. It's fascinating to me.
Well, this is new. It's about 5 months ago that I was invited, along with other judges, to go to a program that would be possibly used by different judges in the court. And it's called Everlasting Covenant Ministries, and it is something that's sanctioned and has federal government money. And it's a teaching session, 12 separate teaching sessions, 2 people that are eligible and are appropriate to put into the program. Essentially, it's a program every couple of weeks. If you think of night class, if you will, where you have to go and you have to do homework for those different programs and make it through those 12 different classes. They tailor your assessment specifically to you. They offer reconnections into the community if you've been in prison. They offer you resources and wraparound services. There's different programs and classes where they teach you about transportation. They look at your educational level and if there's anything that you're missing there. They take care of and teach you about personal maintenance, not just hygiene, but taking care of your bills and how to pay your bills. They talk about legal options, mental health options, spiritual connections. And then they also, towards the end of the program, teach you about the soft skills that many of us take for granted if we're raised in a family with mothers and fathers and many siblings that teach you not to wear this, do that, don't say those words. There's a lot of soft skill trainings, including basic computer training and job readiness training as the last session, in order to help a person know how to apply for jobs and how to do well in the interviewing process. So I find it fascinating. I like it very much. I've only put 10 people in because I'm using it as a pilot project, but I want to expand. And none of these 10 people over the past 2 to 3 months have come back to me with a probation violation. I've used it for people coming out of prison, and I've also used it for people that are right there on the edge of going to prison, or is there anything else I can do with this person? And it's so far been very successful. I would normally see people violating their probation within 2 to 3 months. It's very common. And with these 10 to 12 people that I've placed into this program, not a single person has any type of issues with complying with their probation, which is terrific. It's wonderful.
So here's a former prosecutor of 30 years who's developed a program for success based on rehabilitation and, above all, compassion. I think people would, they certainly can't pigeonhole you now, can they, Judge Bell?
Well, I think, well, I think they'll have a hard time, because I think a lot of people say, okay, prosecutor, he must be tough. Yeah, I'm tough on those tough cases. If you've murdered somebody and it's proven, if you've shot somebody, if you've committed serious assaults, if you've robbed people with guns, we have a lot of gun violence out there that we have to take very seriously. And people know that I take those cases seriously. But there's another way to take cases seriously. And on those low-level cases where you don't want people to turn into those type of offenses that are super serious offenses, you have to take those seriously in another way. We have to find ways to prevent crime in the future. And I think is consistent with what I used to do as a prosecutor, prosecuting rape cases, murder cases, and internet crimes against children and human trafficking. We don't want people to turn into those type of serious offenders. So we have to take very seriously what we do with those low-level offenders.
I understand completely. When I was a trial judge, I used to think of things in kind of a triangle, and most of the cases that come to the court are at the bottom of the triangle, and the really tough ones are at the top of the triangle. And so you want to apportion your resources accordingly so that you can really address the very heinous things that scare the community, that leave the community at an unrest, and deal pragmatically with some of these others. Very impressive for just not even 2 full years on the bench. Very, very impressive. So what is one thing you think that people might not know about you that you think they'd find interesting?
I'm losing my hair.
Well, what's that bell collection behind you?
Okay. Oh, well, this is over here is there's a whole bookshelves full, and on the other side as well, many bells that my father would collect. He worked for General Electric for 50 years here at the Neela Lamp Factory in Northern Ohio, and he would go to different countries and he would set up the different light bulb factories to make light bulbs for General Electric. And they used him kind of as a lawyer, I think. He was very successful at it, but he always had to come back home and make sure that he gave my mom something. And so she had an extensive plate collection, doll collection, and a bell collection for our last name. And since I'm one of the only boys in the family, I have the last name of Bell. When my parents moved from their house into the home that they're living in, here somebody had to take care of the bells. and I have the bells. I'm not even sure what all different countries that they come from, but there's China, Paraguay, Uruguay, Venezuela, England, India, you name it. If it's on the map, my dad probably's been there. And so we were raised while he was gone by our mom, all 10 of us. And she, I think she did a good job. I'm very proud of her.
And what was the nickname they had for her?
Oh, they called her the General. We called her the General. So back in the 1970s, when everybody had their CB radios and the truckers would drive, when we would go on vacations, which we all go on still every year, we would have CB radios, and every one of us had to have a handle. And her handle was the General, and she picked it for herself. So she enjoyed being in charge, and nobody messed with Ma Bell. She's
Oh, that's cute. That's cute. Well, now the General has a son who's the judge. So yeah, but Richard, excuse me, Judge Bell, it's been such a pleasure talking with you today. And thank you for the things that you do and the innovation that you're bringing to the court. It invigorates my thinking just to think of all the possibilities with the great ideas that you've implemented in just such a short time and that you've taken upon yourself to do, bringing all your experience to that. So thank you for that. And I wish you well in the campaign this year. And for those of you watching, this has been Achieving Justice with Judge Richard A. Bell, Judge of the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court General Division, who will be on your ballot this fall on November the 8th, 2022. Thank you so much, Judge Bell.
Thank you, Justice Brunner. Take care.
You too.